What's up, guys? Drew here. Welcome back to Starting Out Solitary. It's week 253, and we are talking about how we deal with psychic attack. This is going to depend on the circumstance, honestly. What is psychic attack? My understanding of and what I mean when I talk of psychic attack is someone sending you bad juju. This could be the lady at the grocery store giving you stink eye, or this could be somebody that you made very angry who's legitimately sending you bad juju. Now, this could be completely unintentional. They're just irritated with you. They're good with energy, whether they realize it or not, and they're sending you some stuff. Or it could be very much conscious, and they know they're doing it, and it could just be an energetic thing, or it could actually be something much more tangible, like they're literally doing spell work against you or something, right? I mean, there are so many levels that this could be on. But essentially what's going to happen is, in my experience, things are going to not be right in your world. Okay, I'll give some examples. When I worked at Compass Rose, the witchy metaphysical shop, there was a young witch who would come in, and he was into stuff that I'm not interested in. Things like summoning and commanding spirits. I'm not in for the drama. Let's put it that way, because not everything he did was dramatic, but there was a lot of drama. Okay. He was very young. He was 19, 20 years old. And just very. At any rate, there were some things that happened. Nothing dramatic and nothing, but there were things in his character outside of witchcraft that I did not appreciate. I felt he was predatory. I'm going to leave it at that. And I wasn't the only one that felt that. My husband and my boss lady also felt that way, for sure. Because of, I'm not going to get into it, but it wasn't good. It wasn't good. And so we started to pull back from this individual. And weird things began to happen after that. And again, it's not really that important, but ultimately, there was an evening where some really weird things were going on. And just all of a sudden, I knew, oh, this is coming from him. That happens sometimes because you know someone and you can recognize, even on an intuitive level, you can recognize that energy. And so it snaps. Oh, that's who that is. This is where this is coming from. This is why witches say don't work against other witches, because we have methods, whether it be intuition or divination or, whatever. We have methods of being able to possibly pretty easily figure out who's working against us. If not, we got friends. Witches always have other witches they know. At any rate, yeah, I knew it was him. And so my husband automatically went into defense mode. My husband is also a practicing witch, and he is super good at protective defensive magic. So I don't even know what he did, but he went into it and it was over. And that kid actually moved away very shortly after, and we never heard from him again. And we were very happy about it. Another instance of psychic attack that we still experience, unfortunately. We have some in-laws that are, they're hell-bent on converting us, and they are constantly sending religious juju our way. I mean, they have physically done so in the past, but if nothing else, prayer and whatever, right? And when that starts, we know when it's them purely because it follows a pattern. And so my husband will be off and things will be off. And he'll start to feel like we need to cleanse the house or something, like something isn't right. And then the following week, I will start to feel the same way. And it manifests first as me feeling very melancholy and not even wanting to get up out of bed for no reason at all. No PMS, no, arguments or upset, nothing. I just suddenly feel very melancholy for at least a day. And that's typically when we come to, this is what's happening, because it's a pattern that we're familiar with at this point. And so we do what we need to do, which is typically going to be a cleansing of the house and of ourselves and our environment. And we'll check the wards around the property. And maybe we have one specific ward particularly for these individuals that we will reinforce that ward. And my matron is here I mean, she's told me basically that part of the reason why she's here at this time in my life is to help protect us from this situation, because it's really ugly. It's really ugly. And those are very specific instances of what I would refer to as psychic attack. And specific instances such as those require sort of specific responses, I feel like. But in general, the way that I just walk around on the daily protecting myself from evil eye, outside influence, stink eye, petty jealousies or judgment or any of these things that can fall under the realm of psychic attack, because really it's just any kind of ick being sent at you from somebody else for whatever reason. That's how I view it anyway. The way that I protect myself on a daily is this bracelet. Okay. I am super into crystals. I've worked with crystals for a long time. My practicing witchcraft and crystals were hand in hand because of my own personal path and my own personal experience with how I came into my path, being that I almost immediately started working at a witchy metaphysical shop that was crystal heavy, and just have a lot of experience with crystals and have worked with them pretty intensely, especially in the beginning, for a very long time. And so, you know, for me, they're allies, they're friends, they're family, and they are go-tos for sure. But initially, when I first started practicing and I was working in a witchy metaphysical shop and coming into contact with tons of people on tons of paths, I had a very different idea about it. I was working with crystals, but crystals was new. It was new to me, and I was all over the place with it, honestly, learning crystal gridding and learning, clearing chakras and balancing them and activating them and calming them, just all over the place with crystals. And I wear this pack all the time, pretty much. And not this exact one, I've had other packs, but regardless, it's full of crystals, and I switch them out depending on what I'm working on or depending on what I feel intuitively called to, right? And that has always been a huge focus of my work with crystals, my personal growth and development on my path. And then, of course, over time, I pulled them into my witchcraft and what have you. Initially, the way that I would guard against psychic attack, outside interference, was visualization exercises more than anything. But I found that to be more detrimental than helpful in the end. So, like, one example, and I can still use these, but I use these on the daily. So, like, okay, I'll give you 3 different examples, like the egg sort of surrounding my aura of, whatever color light you want. And just seeing myself completely encased and whole within this structure, and doing this before going to work or going out or whatever on the daily. Or there was another one, and it's a bubbling cauldron, and it's overflowing with this purple, misty, smoky light that washes over me and totally protects me and blah, blah, blah. Okay, that was a favorite of mine. And then there was another one that I haven't had to use in a very long time, but if I need to, I will. I'll pull it out of my sort of arsenal. But if I'm in a public setting or situation and someone is just not respecting my personal space, I will energetically become a porcupine and just shoot energetic quills and spikes out all around me and make my energy field very uncomfortable for anyone around me. I have found that works really well. But that's sort of an instantaneous, I need that right in this moment kind of thing. But that was my go-to initially. The problem is when you talk to yourself a certain way. Like if somebody constantly is like, I'm stupid and I'm ugly, and they're constantly beating themselves down, they begin to believe it, and like they walk that way, they carry themselves that way. Like it's a physical thing that happens, right? Same with this. Constantly telling myself I needed to be shielded and protected and saying these things and doing these exercises daily, I put on a lot of weight. Now, there was another reason. I had an injury that caused me to not be able to be as active for about a 2-year period. 1 year in particular. The first year I could barely walk. I had to just gently take baby steps. And then the second year, finally I could walk normal, but it took a whole other year, 2 whole years before I could run or jump or anything, because I have back issues. At any rate, that made it so I couldn't be very active. So yes, I put on weight and I couldn't take it off. But even after that 2-year period, the weight it wasn't coming off. And at some point I decided I was no longer going to do the shielding exercises and whatever. And it wasn't related to my weight, or I just decided I was done with it. It was too much. And I didn't want to be telling myself that I needed to be protected all the time like that. Talking to myself that way I felt detrimental to myself on a whole, like emotional level, mental, psychological level. So I stopped, and the weight started coming off, and it came off very quickly and very easily. And, I put 2 and 2 together. I'm like, I was telling myself that I needed layers of protection, and I started to build these layers of protection physically, not just energetically. Again, this is not going to be everyone's experience. I am a highly kind of suggestible person. Not that you can necessarily, but I can talk myself into things, right? My mind is pretty powerful over my body. Not 100%, but if I really fully buy into something, it's just that way. My body follows suit. Again, this isn't necessarily going to be everyone's experience. It's going to depend on your psychology, but this is my own personal experience. So I decided that I would choose crystals. Crystals were going to be the way that I energetically protected myself. And now it took probably 3 years for me to figure out what crystal was best for me. Initially, when I started working with the crystals, I just was working with the crystals, right? And listening fully to the properties that were listed in the book, and not taking really anything else into account. And so that's why it took me 3 years, because over that 3-year period, I realized something, that yes, a crystal has its own energy and vibration, its own energy signature. And so it has sort of established properties, but I also have my own energetic signature, my own energy and my own properties, if you will. I have my own energetic stuff going on here, right? So the way that any particular crystal interacts with me may not be the same way that it interacts with the person standing next to me, because they have their own, not only energetic signature, but they have their own psychology and their own emotional states and their own life experiences. So the interactions between one particular crystal and different individuals could vary widely. And I wasn't taking that into it. I started out with black tourmaline. I love black tourmaline. I tried hematite and smoky quartz. Smoky quartz would be wonderful. Smoky quartz is such a great tool for this. If you can wear smoky quartz, please try it, because smoky quartz not only is highly programmable, but it takes in anything that is disharmonious. So what people might call negative energy, whatever, the bad juju. I don't use that terminology, negative. It's disharmonious to me. It could be fine for somebody else, but for me, it's not okay. It takes that energy and it transmutes it into something that is harmonious to me, and something that is good and lovely and wonderful, and is constantly scrubbing. So if I'm wearing it on my wrist, it's constantly doing that. Unfortunately for me, I resonate more fully, and I energetically align with higher vibrational stones. And I don't mean, when I'm saying higher vibrational stones, I don't mean like it's better. Grounding stones ground you to the earth, and they're lovely and wonderful. But for me, I get very depressed if I'm overly grounded. I'm not in my best space. Like moldavite is one of my favorite stones, and it is super high vibrational. A lot of people have problems with it. It's not harmonious to them. It doesn't feel good. But for me, I'm all about it. I'm in my happy place with moldavite, right? And it's the same, I love black tourmaline. I love it so much. I love smoky quartz so much, but I can't wear it for more than maybe 24 hours, or I start to feel bad. We just don't mesh that way. I can work with it, have it around me, but I can't put it on my physical person. Hematite is the worst. I can't even wear hematite for a couple hours before I'm done. I'm like, get it off. It's just not comfortable. It doesn't feel good. I don't feel good. because of the stone. Our energies don't mesh like that. So it took me some time to figure out what stone was going to be good. For me, it's this stone, which is sugilite. Then it took me some time to find one I could afford. I wanted a sugilite bracelet. For a long time, I just carried a piece of sugilite, a tumble in my pocket, and then I took a tumble and I glued a bale onto it and wore it as a necklace until the glue popped off. And I still have the tumble, thankfully, because it's my favorite piece of sugilite. But I started doing online research because you can look online and find sugilite bracelets for like hundreds of dollars. I finally found this one, which is like $30. I just got this for Yule. Up until then, I was just carrying a tumble around. And they had all different charms on it. I chose the one with the Hamza and the eye in it because for me, that is another level. It's a charm for protection. So that's what I want this for. So of course I chose that. I could have got like the Tree of Life or any number of other ones. But as this is for my protection, I chose the Hamza with the eye. This stone is a very protective stone, but it does so, it's not grounding. It does it in a different way. And so that's what I needed. So long story short, I know that was long. Essentially, I use crystals to protect myself in my everyday average life. But my point in saying that is you have to experiment. If that's what the route you're going to choose, if you're going to choose to work with crystals, experiment and really tap in and pay attention to what's happening within you while using that crystal. Look for stones that are protective. And maybe, maybe a really grounding one would be perfect for you, but maybe it wouldn't, just play. Figure it out, pay attention to what's going on. That's my advice on that. There are many ways to protect yourself from a psychic attack, and it's all about finding what works for you. So good luck if you haven't done so already. Just keep trying, you will. And I really need to stop now. This is the longest video I've ever made for starting out solitary. Until next time, much love and gratitude.